Hi everyone, Alexandra Jarrett, Jupiter Returns here with your weekly astrology forecast for the week of May the 18th to the 24th of 2020. I hope this finds you well and happy. It's been some challenging energy recently with, 3 different planets all turning retrograde in the last week alone. That's really been pulling us back into the self. It's really been saying, what you need to focus on isn't out there, it's in here. There's some unfinished business to attend to, essentially. So there's been this kind of feeling of wanting to retreat, feeling of wanting to be alone, feeling of wanting to rest. And that's really been emphasized over the weekend as we've had the moon journeying through the sign of Pisces. And in Pisces, we can feel quite sleepy, quite lazy, quite kind of, like we just want to chill and we just want to be. So this weekend, I've certainly had a lot of feedback from people saying, it really was quite a heavy energy. It really was making me feel like I didn't want to go out there and get much done. The good news is that that's shifting today. The moon is now back in fire sign of Aries, filling us full of a little bit more motivation and go get it. Also, we've got a beautiful connection today from Jupiter in Earth sign Capricorn, in harmonious energy flow down to the sun in fellow Earth sign Taurus. So this is some really gorgeous energy. It's giving us an uplift. It's restoring our faith, essentially. Jupiter has a lot to do with faith and belief and optimism and luck. So we're feeling a little bit more buoyant. We're feeling like it's good to be alive, The sun is our sense of vibrancy. It's our battery pack, And in connection with Jupiter, we can feel like, the world is good, everything is okay with life, or at least it's moving in that direction. Things are getting better, things are widening up, and opportunities are appearing again. Jupiter really does open doors for growth. So with this connection being in earth signs also, this can really give us the potential to bring things into tangible reality, into something that we can touch and feel in our lives. So try and really tap into this beautiful energy that we have today. This is saying, what's great about me? What's great about my life? And Jupiter essentially is helping us to tap into the higher realm, tapping into, the God realm, the realm of God, the realm of divinity. And we all carry a part of that within the self, the sun. So try, if you can, to experience the divine within you and within your life and your experience of life. Because this is going to be something that's really important as we move through the week. We'll come full circle back into this kind of energy, or I'm certainly joining up the dots with this energy. And I'll explain as I go on. But yeah, what's great about you? What's divine about you? What makes you shine your light into the world in the best possible way, in the most beautiful and divine way? And what perhaps might you need to leave behind with retrograding planets and with Capricorn there? What might you need to leave behind now as the moon is waning? She's closing up the current cycle that's preventing you from reaching your fullest potential. What's stopping you getting in the way of that? So really embody this feeling of grandness and beauty and divinity and vibrancy, and it really achieving everything that it is that you want to be. And then say, I'm not going to allow anything to get in the way of that anymore. And see if you can identify what is potentially getting in the way of that with the retrograding Jupiter. This could be a really good time to work with that. As I say, it's unfinished business. When planets go retrograde, they're recovering a part of our charts in order to draw us back into something that's already happened, so that we can understand it more fully, so that we can work with it just a little bit more, because it's not quite complete yet. So that's some fantastic energy around on, as I say, today, Monday, the 18th. It's uplifting, generosity, optimism, creating and manifesting these wonderful opportunities for growth, and to act and operate in our own life in a more divine way. As we move through the week then, we're really going to be tapped into the second part of a connection that Venus is making. So now that Venus has turned retrograde last week, she's going to be increasing the intensity of a connection that she's making over to Neptune in Pisces. This connection is called a square aspect. It's very easy to pick up on because it's quite stimulating, it's quite provocative energy. We've already had one dose of this when Venus was still moving direct through Gemini. Venus already made this connection to Neptune, and that was back on May the 3rd. So have a think back then, have a look back through your diaries, or however you kind of journal these things, and just see if repeat themes now start to come out, repeat feelings even, perhaps. Because this is the second of 3 times that she's going to make this connection, and this really is a very potent, important connection within the whole of the Venus retrograde cycle that's taking place this year. The connection really is increasing our desire for pleasure, our desire to escape reality. All right, Neptune really doesn't like where it finds itself right now. It wants something to be more beautiful. It wants something to be more romantic. It wants something to be more glamorous. So Neptune is the vision of things. It's our view. It's the lens that we look at life through. And it rules all things associated with the lens and the camera as a result. So it rules photography. It rules the film industry and Hollywood, you know, because in Hollywood, we take ordinary people, ordinary human beings like you and me, and we turn them into these gods and goddesses of the silver screen. They're the most beautiful people. They're the most attractive people. They're the richest. And, you know, the films have these wonderful happy endings. And we're very influenced by what we see, but that's not an accurate reflection of who they are in real life. Okay, that's the glamorizing effect of Neptune. So when we have this desire for romantic connection, certainly with Venus here, you know, the increased desire to want to have pleasure, want to have romance, certainly want to be sociable and have more connections, you know, in Gemini here. It can make things seem a little bit better than they really are. It can make it seem like a much better idea. Gemini, Mercury energy is all about ideas. Things can seem like a really great idea at the time, but then unfortunately, you know, when we put something on such a high pedestal that it's so perfect and so beautiful and so romantic, the only place it can go is down. You know, it's likely to end up in disappointment and disillusionment. Disillusion, the illusion being that vision. So bear that in mind. Be really, really careful. And it can also pull us into wanting to escape through anything that is altering our consciousness. So drugs and alcohol, you know, can have a greater effect on us, and you know, really dull down our common sense and our groundedness, and again pull us into, you know, dispensing with reality. But reality comes back. You know, the rose tinted glasses, the beer goggles are whipped off our face, and then we're like, oh, okay, right, what just happened? What did I do? What was I thinking? It's that kind of thing. So watch out for that. That's going to be a bit confusing as well. You know, what's the reality of a situation? What isn't? So analyze things, be careful. It will be more emphasized as well when the moon meets up with Uranus. That's going to be later on in the day on the Wednesday. And the moon is our subconscious, kind of the way that we react to life. Uranus is rebellious. Uranus is very instinctive. It doesn't stop and think so much. So we could get caught up in quite a restless, oh, to hell with it, I'm just going to go for it kind of energy. So that, again, bear in mind, that's going to be, you know, making you potentially lose your good judgment on situations as well. So do watch out for that. It can help, you know, this can be really nice connection for creative pursuits. And also, you know, when I talk about unfinished business, you know, the connections that you may feel drawn into having are really offering you the potential to go back into something and finish it off in a more harmonious way. Bring a little more forgiveness to it. Bring a little bit more love to it. Bring a little more beauty and compassion and creativity to it. That's the way to use the Venus retrograde, not to start something new, not to get swept away with any ideas of what might happen in the future. It's more about the past and you know, going back into that and refining it somewhat. But it must stay in the past. That's the key thing. Also on Wednesday, it's such a big day. We have the Sun leaving Taurus and ingressing Gemini. This is wonderful. This is mutable energy, so it's change. The Sun in Taurus has helped us to stay in the situation we find ourselves at the moment with quite a bit of restriction, because actually Taurus doesn't like a lot of change going on. It likes things to just stay as they are. So that's been quite helpful. But when the Sun moves into Gemini on Wednesday, we're going to feel a lot more like being active, a lot more busy energy, a lot more restless, bored energy is starting to creep up now. God, I just want things to happen. Things have got too samey. And this is going to intensify with the Sun in a Mercury ruled sign. I want variety. You know, I want a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of the other, you know, not just same that we've had with Taurus. So again, this is going to be pulling us into potentially getting involved in things that look better than they may actually be. Gemini is a mutable sign, so it's more flexible, all right? Taurus is the fixed sign. It's just, let's keep things as they are. Gemini is mutable. It's pulling us out of spring, okay, Aries and Taurus, certainly in the northern hemisphere anyway, and preparing us for summer, which begins when the Sun ingresses Cancer at the summer, around the summer solstice. So we are being prepared to change. Okay, it's not quite spring anymore. It's not yet summer anymore. It's a bit of both. So this is a way of understanding that variety-loving, changeable, bored, kind of restless energy that you can get with Gemini, because it wants us to get bored. It wants us to move away from something that we've been stuck in. Okay. So at this time, the Sun is going to form a lovely trine aspect. This time, instead of over to Jupiter, as we start the week with, the Sun's now starting to connect with Saturn retrograde. Saturn's really, really strong in the sign of Aquarius. And Saturn's quite grounding, quite calming influence. So this is really helpful. This is going to help us transition from stable energy into changeable energy. It's going to help just prolong it a little bit longer. And again, this is the connection of ourselves into the unfinished business. Saturn is retrograding and will soon go back into the sign of Capricorn to finish off what he started there. That whole Capricorn situation is far from over as these planets kind of retrace their steps there. So, you know, that's really going to tap us into, you know, what hasn't completed yet in the old way. It's also a really important part of the chart further on into the year, and I'll talk about that when I come to discuss the new moon. So really see if you can navigate this process of change, of coming out of something stable. How am I going to navigate into being busy and active and being more out there again? You know, Saturn should help bring some confidence, a little bit more feeling okay about doing that. When the Sun was back in Taurus, I think people were feeling a little bit more concerned and a little bit more wary about getting back out there into the world. But I think, you know, past Wednesday, we can start to feel a little bit more confident about being more social and having some change to the routine that has been established and has given us a sense of safety and security to many people. So we, as we move through Wednesday then, what we're looking at is going into the new moon. The moon will have moved forward into Gemini. So the new moon takes place actually on Friday. Here in the UK, that's 7 p.m. And this is taking place at 2 degrees of Gemini. So this is the super fertile phase of the moon's journey. It's the divine feminine moon with the divine masculine sun, and they come together to create something new, to start something afresh. All right, so where is Gemini in your chart? What planets do you have in Gemini? What is it that's being ignited within you to make a new start? This is where the new moon is going to be showing up in your life. And this is really fantastic energy because of that trine aspect to Saturn. You know, that's really going to help the seeds that we sow, those metaphorical, intentional seeds that we sow of the new start that we're beginning. It's really going to help them form a part of the future. Okay, Saturn is in Aquarius, and Aquarius is very future orientated. Saturn is in a part of Aquarius right now that it will revisit in December this year, when it's gone back into Capricorn, finished up the business there, turned direct and come back into the sign of Aquarius. It will be coupled up with the planet Jupiter. So that's why I think it's useful to pull in the Jupiterian energy that we have at the beginning of this week, all right? So these two guys come together and start a whole new cycle with each other. A little bit like the new moon of the sun and moon. This is the new moon of Saturn and Jupiter, essentially. And that's really going to be setting the scene for a couple of decades. So it's an important cycle. And that's the part of the chart that the new moon now in fellow air sign Gemini is connecting with. So the seeds that we are sowing now, informed by the work that we're doing throughout this week that starts with that lovely Sun-Jupiter trine, that's going to be something that is going to really, really be reactivated quite powerfully later on in the year, this part of the chart. So I would encourage you to work with this and really get your intentions clear. And these are not short-term intentions. These aren't the fleeting desires of the Venus-Neptune connection. These are the longer term, the bigger picture. Jupiter is the wider perspective, the grander idea, and Saturn is things that have a long duration. So that's really what you want to tap into. And it could very well be that you're not feeling that way at all, because at the same time we have the new moon, Mercury, strongly placed in his home sign of Gemini, is going to connect with Venus, giving further emphasis to that square challenge aspect. All right, it's really going to be washing this stuff up into our minds. It's going to want us to communicate about this. It's going to draw us back into communicating with the past, with whatever it is that's that's unfinished, whether that be something around a past relationship, a past creative project, something related to our finances. It's really going to be washing that up to the surface. So it might be very hard to say, actually, I'm going to take the longer view, but see if you can just have some real maturity, Saturn, and self-awareness, Jupiter, the higher wisdom perspective, to not get caught up in this stuff. And I'm quite sure you'll be very pleased that you did. We're in the middle of a very powerful moment in time. This is going to be recorded in the history books, this moment that we're all living through. And we are going to look back on this time, this very powerful point in our lives in years to come. And our ancestors also are going to look back on us and this point in our history and this point in our family history. So there's going to be a lot of looking back at this point. And this is another way to kind of access that retrograde energy. How will I look back on this point in time? Will I look back and think, yeah, I made the wise longer term decisions, or I just got so caught up in the story, I got swept away, on the current of the storyline, the film, that we're kind of, it's very, very surreal, this experience, and we can get caught up in that. So I think, Mercury is how we can think. It's how we process information. And in Gemini, Gemini is the twins. It's able to kind of look at things from both sides. When we connect that to Venus, who rules Libra, which is also weighing things up, the scales of justice. Is it fair? Is it equal? Is it balanced? That's what she's looking for there. With the combination of these two energies, I would suggest if we feel ourselves getting pulled into this, I want to escape reality. I want to get drunk. I want to, reconnect with someone. I want some love. I want some desire, whatever it may be. Just conduct a quick cost-benefit analysis, essentially. Gemini is very detached. The air signs in general are quite emotionally detached, and that's a good thing in this situation, I think, because it can just help us take a breather and say, okay, let me weigh this up. Let me look at both sides and see what's the chances of this turning out to be a good thing in the long run. What's the cost-benefit analysis, essentially? Is this something I'm going to potentially regret when the beer goggles come off? Or is it something, that I will be pleased I did, because I've been tapping into the better way of tuning into Venus retrograde. I reconnected in order to bring more love, in order to bring more beauty, in order to bring more forgiveness to something, to finish something already started in a more pleasing and beautiful way, not with the hope of starting something new. Okay? That's only going to lead to disappointment. So use your brain with Mercury, that's what you've got it for. That's going to be the good thing to do there, rather than getting swept up in the storyline. As we progress through the weekend, then the moon will continue forward through Gemini and will again be exacerbating all of this energy as she moves over the Mercury-Venus conjunction and their square to Neptune. So it's going to be very, very tempting. And there's going to be a few days, a good few days, where we really feel, you know, the moon is where we act unconsciously. So, you know, we really have to be very self-aware. And I think that's where the Jupiter-Saturn stuff comes in, really being self-aware. And if you don't trust yourself, ask a trusted friend, perhaps. You know, Aquarius is the sign of friends and friendship. You know, have a beer buddy, you know, have someone to just say, okay, if I go crazy on this one, can you just like support me, Saturn, to not do something I might regret. So with this new moon, as I said, starting the week from a position of what's the best that I can be in the long term, what is me being my most divine, and what opportunities that's going to bring to me. And what do I need to leave behind now as the moon wanes in order to step into more of that in my life and create more opportunity to be expansive. But then as we come into the new moon, it's really saying, how do I want to look back on this time and remember it? And how do I want other people to look back on this period of my life, this chapter of my life as well? Gemini loves a story. Neptune makes it, you know, the Hollywood ending. So am I going to get caught up in the story, in the narrative that's playing out in the media? You know, Gemini rules the media. Am I going to get swept along with that fantasy? Or am I just going to take myself out of that and just plant myself very firmly in myself, my personal sovereignty? You know, my personal best. And that's going to give me something that endures, something that's very stable and reliable. And it's going to strengthen me. It's going to make me realize that, you know, I can say no to some fleeting desire and passion, and be really proud of that, because it's something that we have to master as we get older. You know, we have to say no to things that we want in order to live our most successful lives. And when we're talking about Saturn and Jupiter, that's really what we're talking about. And of course, success is personal to you. So it's a very, very fertile new moon in terms of what reality you're going to be creating for quite a long time in the future. So be careful which option you choose. All right, that would be my message. I hope that's helpful. If you want to understand a little bit more about the moon cycles, then get in touch and book a Moondala reading. Super quick, half an hour, once a month, and that's going to show you where the lunations are in your own chart and how to tap into those in a more personal way. I'm also offering at the moment for a limited time Lessons in Love Venus reading, which is going to show you all about how to use the Venus retrograde for you personally, but also your own Venus placement in your chart, understanding your love nature and the things that you have strengths and weaknesses in terms of that and how you can work with it. So book that through my website or get in touch with me on Facebook if that's something of interest too. This is the last major lunation before we move back into eclipse season. So in just 2 weeks' time, we start the eclipses again, or we've got one taking place on the solstice that's going to be super powerful. So make sure you stay tuned to ensure you're tapped into what's going to be happening with those. Click subscribe on YouTube to make sure you get a notification in your email box so you never miss any of the readings that I put out. Thanks so much as always for watching. Leave me a like, a love, a comment, a share. Have a beautiful week. Sow some amazingly, incredibly powerful seeds for a wonderful future and lots of love. Take care. Bye-bye.